Have you ever made a trade thinking it was perfect but ended up messing it all up? Or maybe you stuck to your plan at first, but suddenly fear or greed took over, and before you knew it, you broke your own rules. You're not alone. Every trader goes through this. The problem isn't the strategy, the chart, or the indicators. It's the battle inside your own mind, the fight between what you know you should do and what your emotions push you to do instead. In this video, I'll show you why we keep falling into the same traps, how fear and impulse control your trades, and what it really takes to trade calmly, confidently, and consistently. By the end, you'll see trading in a completely new way. And finally, take control of your own decisions, instead of letting your emotions decide for you. Chapter 1. The War Inside Your Head. The real market isn't on your screen. It's in your mind. You might think the battle starts when the market opens, when the candles move, or when your setup finally triggers. But the truth is, the fight begins long before that. In the silent space between your logic and your emotions, every trade you take is a reflection of how well you're managing that internal war. Every trader has two versions of themselves. The logical one, calm, strategic, data-driven. And the emotional one, impulsive, fearful, greedy. The logical trader studies charts, plans entries, and journals every detail. The emotional trader takes over the moment real money is on the line. It's like watching two different people trade from the same account. When you're relaxed, logic wins. But once the market starts moving against you, your emotional brain takes control. Suddenly, all your plans vanish. You start thinking, maybe if I just hold a little longer, or I can make it back on the next trade. These thoughts feel natural in the moment, but they come from the most dangerous part of trading. Your emotions trying to protect your ego. The emotional hijack. Let's talk science for a second. Inside your brain, there's a tiny almond-shaped structure called the amygdala. It's responsible for fear, anxiety, and fight-or-flight responses. When you see your trade go into loss, the amygdala fires instantly, flooding your body with stress hormones. It's the same response you'd have if you saw a lion in the jungle. The difference, the lion is digital now. It's your red P&L. Your brain doesn't distinguish between physical danger and financial danger. So, when you see money slipping away, your logical brain, the prefrontal cortex, shuts down. You stop thinking clearly, stop following your plan, and start reacting emotionally. That's why you keep breaking your own rules. Not because you're undisciplined, but because your biology is working against you. Imagine this. You enter a trade that instantly drops 1%. You know your stop loss should be at 2%. But fear kicks in. You widen it just a little, hoping it'll bounce back. Now you're no longer trading your plan. You're trading your emotions. A few minutes later, you're 5% down, angry at yourself and wondering, why do I always do this? That's the war inside your head. It's not about the chart. It's about control. The illusion of control. Here's the funny thing about traders. We crave control in a game that's designed to be uncontrollable. You can't control where price goes. You can't control news, volume, or other traders. Yet we all act like we can. We overanalyze, overtrade, and overreact because uncertainty makes us anxious. So we create a false sense of control. We move stops. We add to losers. We take profits too early. We do anything to feel like we're doing something. The problem, every one of those reactions is emotional. The truth is, real control in trading comes not from controlling the market, but from controlling yourself. You win not by forcing outcomes, but by mastering how you respond when things don't go your way. Logic gives you structure, but emotion tests that structure in real time. And most traders fail, not because their logic is wrong, but because their emotion wins the war. How ego destroys logic. Every trader has an ego, even the humble ones. Ego whispers things like, "You can't be wrong," or "You're smarter than the market." It's that voice that makes you hold a bad trade just to prove you were right. Ego hates losses because losses feel personal. They feel like failure. But in trading, losses aren't personal. They're part of the math. Professionals know that losing is data. Amateurs see it as identity. When ego is in charge, logic doesn't stand a chance. You'll avoid cutting losses, take revenge trades, and double down just to repair your pride. I've seen traders blow entire accounts not because they lacked knowledge, but because they couldn't accept being wrong. Their brain needed to protect the self-image of being a good trader. But trading isn't about being right. It's about staying alive. Ego wants to win. Logic wants to survive. Only one can stay in control. The fear-greed loop of emotion is a currency. Then fear and greed are its two main denominations. Fear makes you exit too early. Greed makes you enter too soon. Together, they create an endless emotional loop. You fear missing out when the market rallies, so you chase. Then it reverses, and you fear losing money, so you exit at the worst possible point. Later, when it moves again, you regret it. And that regret fuels the next emotional decision. This cycle traps millions of traders because it feels logical in the moment, even though it's purely emotional. This is why traders often say, "I knew what to do, but I didn't do it." Knowing is logical. Doing is emotional. Until you master the emotional part, your knowledge won't save you. The hidden cost of emotional trading. Every emotional decision costs you more than money. It costs your confidence, your clarity, and your ability to trust yourself. The more you react emotionally, the less you believe in your own discipline. And when self-trust breaks, consistency dies. Think about how many times you've made a great plan the night before trading. Perfect entry, stop loss, take profit. But when the real trade comes, you hesitate. You exit early. You panic. You doubt. And after that, you spend hours beating yourself up, asking, "Why can't I just stick to my plan?" That self-blame eats your mental capital. It's why some traders burn out even when they still have money. The market didn't destroy them. Their emotions did. Awareness. The first step to mastery. Here's the truth most traders miss. You can't control what you don't notice. If you're unaware of your emotional triggers, they'll run your trades. The first step to mastering emotion isn't suppression, it's awareness. Start by observing your thoughts while trading. What do you feel when you see a losing candle? What happens to your body when your position goes red? Your heart rate? Your breathing? Do you tense up, panic, or rationalize bad decisions? The more you notice, the more you understand how emotion enters your system. Professional traders treat emotional awareness like data. They journal not just trades, but feelings. They review their emotional states the same way they review charts, because awareness turns emotional chaos into measurable behavior. And what's measurable can be managed. Logic is a muscle. Logic isn't something you have. It's something you train. Every time you choose to follow your plan instead of your impulse, you strengthen that muscle. Over time, logic becomes your default reaction, not your forced decision. But training logic takes deliberate effort. It means trading smaller so emotions are manageable. It means accepting boredom as part of consistency. It means redefining success, not as winning trades, but as following your plan perfectly, even when it hurts. Every time you choose logic over emotion, you win a small internal victory. And those small victories compound over time, just like returns. The trader's mirror one of the hardest truths about trading is this. The market is a mirror. It reflects your emotional weaknesses back at you. If you're impatient in life, you'll be impatient in trades. If you crave control in relationships, you'll crave control over charts. If you avoid discomfort, you'll cut winners too early. Trading doesn't just test your strategy. It exposes your psychology. The market has no bias, no empathy, no interest in your story. It simply reacts to your actions. That's why trading is the most honest teacher you'll ever meet. You can't fake emotional control. The market knows, and it will exploit your weakness until you fix it. The turning point, the day you stop fighting the market and start managing yourself. That's the day everything changes. You'll notice something strange. The less you try to force profits, the more consistent you become. Your charts start to feel calmer. You stop reacting to every tick. You start following your plan, not because you should, but because you trust it. That's when logic and emotion begin to align. You still feel fear, greed, and excitement, but they no longer control your actions. You acknowledge them, respect them, and act logically anyway. That's emotional mastery. The takeaway. The war inside your head never fully disappears. You'll still feel emotions, even after 20 years of trading. But mastery isn't about silence. It's about control. It's about creating enough space between feeling and action to let logic lead. Every trader is fighting the same invisible war. Some fight it unconsciously and lose. Others fight it intentionally and grow stronger with each battle. The difference isn't intelligence or experience. It's awareness and emotional discipline. Trading is 80% psychology, 20% strategy. But it feels like the opposite. Most traders spend years trying to perfect systems, signals, and setups. But the truth is, until you master yourself, none of it matters. The chart will always reflect your mental state more than your technical skill. So the next time you find yourself staring at a red position, ask yourself, who's trading right now? My logic or my emotion? Because that single moment of awareness might be the difference between repeating your past and rewriting your future. And remember, the market will always test your emotions, but it can never defeat a trader who knows how to master the war inside their head. Master the war inside their head. Chapter 2. The emotional traps that kill traders. You don't lose money because you're wrong. You lose because you react. Every trader knows that familiar burn. That moment when a good setup turns bad, your plan vanishes, and you start doing things you swore you'd never do again. You widen your stop loss, you double down to get it back, or you sit frozen, watching your loss grow, unable to click the button. Later, when the dust settles, you're angry at yourself, confused and swearing, "I'll never do this again." But deep down, you know you probably will. Why? Because your biggest enemy isn't the market. It's your emotions. Trading isn't about predicting price. It's about managing reaction. The difference between a trader who lasts and a trader who burns out lies in how they handle emotional traps. The invisible forces that hijack your decision-making. In this chapter, we're going to dissect those traps. Fear, greed, revenge, hesitation, and overconfidence, and show you how they silently destroy your performance without you even realizing it. The trap of fear is the oldest emotion in the trading world. It hides in many forms. Fear of losing money, fear of missing out, fear of being wrong, fear of regret. It's like a virus that infects your thinking. You can't see it, but you can feel it. The racing heartbeat when price moves fast. The sweaty palms when your stop loss gets close. The anxiety before clicking buy. When fear takes control, you stop thinking in probabilities and start thinking in survival. Every candle feels personal. Every loss feels permanent. You move your stop farther away, not because it's logical, but because you can't handle the pain of being wrong. You take profits too early, not because the setup changed, but because you fear losing what's already yours. Here's the problem. The more you fear, the smaller your edge becomes. You can't execute logically while your mind is trapped in survival mode. Fear kills rationality. It makes you see danger where there's opportunity and comfort where there's risk. Let's say you've had 2 losing trades in a row. On the third setup, your analysis says it's perfect. Clean entry, good risk-reward, but your hand hesitates. You don't take it. Then it works exactly as you predicted. You feel regret. That regret turns into frustration. And soon, that frustration pushes you into a rushed, emotional entry on the next trade, one you didn't plan. That's how fear evolves into its darker cousin, revenge. The trap of revenge. Trading revenge. Trading is when emotion takes the driver's seat and ego becomes the GPS. You're not trading the market anymore. You're trading your pain. You just lost money, and your brain screams, I need to get it back, now. In that moment, logic disappears. You stop seeing setups and start seeing opportunities to fix your mood. You chase anything that moves. You double your position size. You take impulsive entries. It's not about strategy anymore. It's about restoring your self-image. The dangerous part? Revenge trading gives you a temporary illusion of control. Sometimes you'll even win those trades. And that's what makes it deadly. Because that win doesn't fix your emotions, it feeds them. It tells your brain, see, emotion works. And that's the start of the spiral, a psychological addiction to impulsive behavior. I've seen traders blow entire accounts because of one bad day. Not from the initial loss, but from what came after. The need to prove something, the urge to punish the market, the refusal to walk away. Revenge trading is not about the market. It's about your inability to accept pain. The moment you make peace with losing, revenge loses its power. The trap of greed doesn't always look like you think. It's not just wanting more money. It's the constant itch for action. The belief that if I'm not trading, I'm missing out. You open your charts at night, scanning pairs you'd never trade normally, just because you want to catch something. You break your rules, ignore your plan, and tell yourself just one more. That's greed in disguise. Impatience, disguised as ambition. Here's the truth. Greed thrives on dopamine. Every small win releases a chemical reward in your brain. The same one that gamblers feel when they pull a slot lever. Your mind starts chasing that feeling, not the profit. You're not trading for money anymore. You're trading for excitement. That's why most traders do fine on demo accounts, but fall apart with real money. On demo, there's no dopamine loop. On live accounts, every tick triggers emotion. The thrill of gain or the fear of loss. The only antidote to greed is structure. A predefined trading plan with clear rules for entries, exits, and position size is your defense system. But most traders skip this part because structure feels boring. They want action, not discipline. But remember, the market rewards. Boredom and punishes excitement. The traders who survive longest are the ones who can sit still while everyone else is chasing. The trap of overconfidence. There's a cruel irony in trading. Success can be more dangerous than failure. After a few wins, your brain releases a different kind of poison. Overconfidence. It whispers, you've cracked the code. It convinces you that your last win means you're unstoppable. You start taking larger positions, skipping confirmations, and ignoring your own risk limits. You tell yourself, this setup looks perfect. I don't even need a stop loss this time. And just like that, the market humbles you. Overconfidence doesn't hit you after losses. It hits you after wins. And that's why it's sneaky. It makes you believe you're in control just before you lose it. It's not arrogance. It's the illusion of mastery. You confuse luck for skill, momentum for consistency. One of the best traders I know once told me, the moment you think you've mastered the market, you've already lost. Because mastery in trading isn't about feeling invincible. It's about feeling neutral. The best traders don't ride emotional highs or lows. They ride balance. To protect yourself from overconfidence, you need humility. Remind yourself that every trade is independent. The market doesn't care about your last win. There's no memory, no loyalty. You start every session as a beginner again. And that's what keeps you sharp. The trap of hesitation. Hesitation might sound harmless, but it's a silent killer of consistency. It's that split second when your plan says, enter. But your brain says, wait. You've seen this before. Your setup appears. You hover over the buy button. Your heart beats faster. And you start second-guessing. What if it fails? What if the market fakes me out again? Then you watch price take off without you, leaving you behind. You didn't lose money, but you lost confidence. And that's often worse, because after a few missed opportunities, you start forcing trades out of frustration. You go from "I'll wait for a good setup" to "I'll take anything that moves." Hesitation usually comes from two places: lack of confidence in your system or fear from past trauma. Every time you've been burned by a false breakout, your brain remembers the pain and uses hesitation to protect you. But protection has a price: missed opportunity. The way to fix hesitation isn't to push harder. It's to build trust. Trust in your process, not your feelings. The more data you collect, the more you believe in your edge. When your system is tested and proven, you don't need confidence to act. You just follow the plan. The domino effect. The danger with emotional traps is that they don't happen in isolation. One leads to another. Fear causes hesitation. Hesitation turns into frustration. Frustration triggers revenge trading. Revenge leads to overtrading. Overtrading creates greed, and greed brings you right back to fear. It's a never-ending loop unless you consciously break it. Most traders never do. They keep searching for better strategies, indicators, and signals, thinking that a new tool will fix what's actually an emotional problem. But no strategy can protect you from your own mind. Trading psychology isn't about being emotionless. It's about being emotionally intelligent. It's about recognizing what you're feeling and choosing not to act on it. The real cost of emotional traps. The market doesn't just take your money. It takes your peace. Every emotional mistake chips away at your self-belief. You start doubting yourself. You hesitate. You overthink. You lose your rhythm. And soon, you're not trading the market anymore. You're trading your insecurities. That's why emotional discipline is the true edge. Strategies come and go. Systems evolve. But the ability to stay calm, rational, and consistent in chaos, that's timeless. The traders who win big don't avoid emotion. They outsmart it. They expect emotional traps. They prepare for them like soldiers before battle. They know their weakness and build systems around it. Risk limits, cool-down periods, journaling, meditation. Because in the end, emotional control isn't about being strong. It's about being prepared. The turning point. Every trader reaches a point where they realize this. It's not about finding the perfect trade. It's about becoming the person who can execute perfectly. The difference between a gambler and a professional isn't knowledge, it's control. You can't eliminate fear, greed, or frustration. They're human, but you can learn to delay them. To let logic breathe before emotion reacts. That tiny gap, that pause before clicking, is where mastery lives. So, next time you feel the urge to chase, to double down, or to hesitate, pause. Take a deep breath. Ask yourself, am I reacting or am I executing? That single question can save your account. And over time, it can save your trading career. Because the market doesn't kill traders. Their emotions do. And the sooner you understand that, the sooner you stop fighting the wrong enemy. The sooner you stop fighting the wrong enemy. Chapter 3. Logic versus Impulse. The Split-Second War. Trading is a game of split-second decisions. One moment, the market looks calm. The next, it flashes red or green, and your heartbeat accelerates without warning. In that instant, your logic and your impulse clash in a battle you might not even realize is happening. Every trader has faced it, the moment when you know what the right move is, but something deep inside pushes you in another direction. That push is impulse, and until you learn to manage it, impulse will always win the war over logic. Impulse is instinct. It's fast, automatic, and designed to protect you from danger. In evolution, it kept our ancestors alive when they faced sudden threats. Today, it triggers every time your trade moves against you or even slightly threatens your account. It's the reason you exit too early, add to a losing position, or chase a breakout that isn't even real. Logic, on the other hand, is slow. It's deliberate. calculated, and takes time to process. But in trading, the slow thinker often loses unless they train their system to pause impulse. Think about a simple scenario. You're sitting in front of your screen, and your setup signals a high probability trade. Everything aligns with your rules: risk-reward ratio, trend, confirmation candle, all green lights. Then, price dips slightly before the entry. Your first instinct screams, "Don't do it! It's going to drop further!" That's your impulse talking, trying to protect you from a potential loss. Your logic knows the plan. You've tested it, back-tested it, trusted it dozens of times. The split-second war begins. Do you follow your plan, or do you follow your instinct? Here's the thing about impulse. It feels urgent. It's loud. It pulls at your emotions, your fear of loss, your desire for safety. If you're not prepared, it dominates every trade. Most traders think that knowledge alone, understanding charts, indicators, or patterns, is enough to succeed. It isn't. Knowledge without control is like having a Ferrari and driving it blindfolded. Impulse will always drive your decisions if you let it. The key to winning this war is slowing down. That doesn't mean trading slowly. It means introducing mental systems that give logic a fighting chance. One method is the use of mental circuit breakers. Before entering a trade, create a pause. Even if it's just a few seconds, ask yourself, am I trading this because of the setup or because of a gut reaction? That tiny delay allows your brain to shift from autopilot to conscious decision-making. It's like hitting the brakes before steering into a dangerous turn. Over time, this pause strengthens the logic muscle and weakens impulsive reflexes. Structured trade plans are another critical tool. Impulse thrives on uncertainty. When a setup is ambiguous, your brain fills in the gaps with fear or excitement. A well-defined plan removes ambiguity. You know your entry, stop loss, and target before you even click. Your emotions still exist, but they have less room to influence your actions. A clear framework is like a map in unfamiliar territory. Impulse may tug you toward cliffs, but logic reminds you where the safe paths are. Decision journaling is equally important. Every trader has had the experience of looking back at a blown trade and thinking, "Why did I do that?" When impulse leads, regret follows. Journaling trades, including your thought process and emotions, forces you to confront patterns in your behavior. Over time, you begin to see which impulses dominate your decision-making and in what situations. It's not punishment, it's data. The more you analyze it, the more predictable your impulses become, and the better you can design systems to counteract them. Impulse doesn't only affect entries and exits, it shapes risk management too. Consider position sizing. Many traders know they should risk 1 to 2% per trade, but in the heat of the moment, impulse whispers, "Just a little more. You can make it back faster." One small deviation can magnify into catastrophic losses. Logic, trained through consistent practice and rules, keeps you aligned with risk limits. Without this discipline, even a profitable strategy can be destroyed. We often underestimate how deeply impulse is tied to emotion. Fear, greed, frustration, and excitement all feed impulsive behavior. A single red candle can trigger panic. A green candle can ignite overconfidence. That's why mental preparation is as important as technical preparation. Before you trade, visualize the scenarios where impulse might strike. Imagine the loss, the missed opportunity, the spike in fear or greed. When your brain has rehearsed these situations, it's less likely to react blindly when they happen in real time. Impulse is also contagious in a way. Watching other traders react, live streams, forums, social media, can trigger mirror reactions. You see someone celebrating a breakout, and suddenly you feel compelled to chase it. You see someone panic during a drop, and you want to exit. Your logic might know this is irrational, but impulse ignores logic. Protecting yourself from external influences is part of managing the internal war. Silence the noise, and you give logic more space to operate. An important distinction is that impulse isn't inherently bad. It's a survival mechanism. In some situations, rapid decisions save you. Experienced traders sometimes act on instinct, but only after years of repeated patterns and testing. What differentiates instinctive mastery from destructive impulse is preparation and awareness. You recognize the signals because your logic has embedded patterns over time. Impulse doesn't disappear, it becomes aligned with rational decision-making. Let's bring this to life with a story. I remember a trader, let's call him Alex, who was consistently profitable on paper but struggled to execute under pressure. One morning, his favorite currency pair began a sudden drop. Alex knew the setup was perfect for a short, according to his rules. But the first dip triggered fear. His hand hovered over the mouse. He hesitated. The price retraced slightly, and his brain screamed, "Wait! It's too risky!" He exited. Moments later, the price continued in the direction of his original plan. That single hesitation cost him the trade and shook his confidence. What changed for Alex wasn't a new indicator or strategy. It was a mental routine. He began using pre-trade pauses, journaling his thoughts, and rehearsing scenarios where impulse could strike. Over weeks, he built a habit: pause, acknowledge the emotion, follow the plan. The same trades that once triggered panic became opportunities for calm execution. His impulse didn't vanish, but it no longer dictated outcomes. Logic regained control. The split-second war is ongoing in every trade. Impulse will always appear first because your brain is wired that way. The challenge is to recognize it, pause, and give logic a seat at the table before acting. Think of it as training for a sport. You don't just build physical strength. You train your reactions, your timing, and your discipline. Trading is the same. You train mental reflexes, not just technical skills. Every trader has moments of defeat where impulse wins. The difference between amateurs and professionals is how often they recover. Professionals anticipate these moments, create systems to counteract them, and accept that impulse will always be present. They don't fight it blindly. They integrate it into a disciplined framework. Over time, split-second decisions become second nature, executed with clarity rather than panic. In the end, mastering the split-second war isn't about eliminating emotion. It's about creating a reliable process that lets logic operate first, even when your impulses scream. It's about small, deliberate pauses, structured plans, journaling, and rehearsal. It's about building mental resilience so that when chaos hits, you execute like a professional instead of reacting like a frightened beginner. Logic and impulse will always coexist. The moment you stop fighting the war and start training for it, everything changes. Suddenly, trades you once feared become manageable. Mistakes become lessons, the market loses its power to terrify, and your decisions gain clarity. That's the point where trading stops being a battle of fear and chance and becomes a test of skill, discipline, and mastery over yourself. The split-second war is relentless, but it's winnable. Each pause, each rule followed, each journal entry is a victory. And over time, those victories compound into the ultimate advantage in trading: control over your mind. The market may be unpredictable, but your response doesn't have to be. In that moment, logic becomes your ally, impulse becomes manageable, and the split-second war becomes a battlefield you can win. Trade after trade. Trade after trade.